everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Speed Tips by Bob and Chad. Uh, Great weather out here now. We can't be more happier about this negative weather, but we're excited because we have a new guest this week. We have Kelli Peton from Aero Wheels, and I'm excited about that because, of course, I think racers need to know about the products that they're running and the history of the product and things like that. So I'm excited about that. So we're tickled to have you on here, Kelli.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You bet. We've been a Aero, well, that's the only wheel we've ever sold is Aero Race Wheels. So, um, we've been on the product for quite a few years. So what's new and exciting in Bangor, Wisconsin, Chad?
Well, it's pretty chilly. Today was a typical Monday after the Daytona 500. Everybody figures out they have a race car and they got to order their parts and start working on their hot rods. So this is a great time of year. Build season's always fun. It's super busy, and we had a good show last week. I didn't go, but Josh went to Kansas to Mel Hamilton Ford, our dealer down there. They had their open house, and that went really well. Josh did good and got to see a bunch of our customers from that area, so that was awesome. And now we're prepping for the Carl Performance one this weekend, so we're going to send Billy to. Billy will be at the stock car school on Friday with you, and then he's going to go to Carl Performance on Saturday for Carl's open house. So we're just rocking and rolling through the off season here.
Well, I'm excited. Always excited to have Billy. Billy does a great job of promoting your product. He's very professional. Um, so I'm excited to have him on Friday. So that's looking good. Our stock car school is sold out. We don't have any more spaces available for that. However, of course, if you still want to go, you can always do the online school. That's kind of unlimited, and that works really well. So that works good. Um, what's new at Aero Race Wheels?
Probably not as cold as Wisconsin, but pretty cold. Just a few weeks ago, we went down to the Day Motorsports Show in Tyler, Texas, and that was fun. Got to also visit a couple different places down there in Texas. Got to visit with a lot of their dealers. It's a dealer show, so they bring their dealers in, and we're able to talk to them one-on-one about our product, make sure they know everything that we offer, because not all of our distributors put everything that we offer out, even though I push them to as much as possible. But we really do have something for everybody, and those kind of shows like that, when it's a dealer-specific show, it's a great way to get as much of our product out in front of those guys, and they get it in front of the end user as well.
Well, that's a good concept. I've always heard that deal's a very good show, and those guys do an awesome job down there. I've never been there. I've never actually been to Day Motorsports, but I see their ads and I've heard great things about what they do down there. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, our next show will be the Rochester show, Chad and Kevco's show, and we're excited about that. That's always a fun setup night the night before, and then the one-day show up there. It's growing exponentially, and we really appreciate being there and getting in front of a few of at least the Wissota market, and including the IMCA racers that are up there too. So that's important to us.
Yeah.
We're excited. We 58 vendors, so that's
Wow.
manufacturers and racetracks, and we only have a couple spots left, so we're excited. I think that's 15 more than we had last year. So yeah, definitely growing. We're excited.
Pretty good.
My Race Pass is on board. They're doing a promoters workshop, which is going to be pretty cool. The racetrack promoters can have a little bit of a round table, and then I think they're going to open it up for the general discussion. If you want to know how much they're going to pay at Fountain City on Friday nights for the modifieds or whatever, general questions like that for the racers that are going to be there. So super excited to have that. And we got new manufacturers coming. I know that We've been posting, I think, every day. Colby's been working on it, releasing the vendors that are going to be there. We got new vendors coming, so we're really excited. We just signed up Joe's Racing Products out of Washington, so
awesome.
Joe's going to come, and so we're excited to have him come all the way from Washington. So as we get this show bigger and we get more racers there, it definitely attracts, manufacturers to come and interact with our customers, and that's kind of why. When Ruby asked us to get heavily involved, I think the Midwest shows, and Kelli and I talk about this all the time, that the Midwest shows, the PRI has its whatever, but, a lot of us pulled out of that. And I like to focus more on the regional shows like the Day Motorsports and what we're doing in Rochester and the Midwest Speed Expo in Springfield, Illinois. So I'm kind of trying to get some shows revitalized. So I think it's important for us manufacturers to be, I guess you would say, on the forefront of trying to get these shows going and try to help out and be a part of it and, try and grow the sport that way.
Well, and the thing that's important, I mean, PRI is good. However, it's not just circle track stuff. So, there's a lot of people. It's really big. Just to go attend that deal, it's a little expensive. I mean, not the actual show, but the cost of going there and stuff. So, I mean, it's not something that everybody can afford to do, where like your show there, I mean, it's a piece of cake. It's a day-long show, and you get up and you get there in the morning and you go through the show and talk to people, and by the end of the day you're done and you go home. And I think that works. That's kind of like why we've had opportunities for the Harris Clash to go to a 2-day show, and I'm not saying that won't happen, because I've learned in my life you never say never, but as long as I'm alive, I'm not planning on it to ever be a 2-day show, because it just costs the racer more money to do that. And so, I think we can have good regional shows, like Joe's coming. I mean, I think they have the best brake adjuster on the market. I mean, we sell their brake adjuster and install them in every car that we build. So they build great products, and a lot of the people that will attend the show probably haven't seen some of the stuff that they built.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Joe
Exciting.
and I have been friends for like 25 years. I think, I first met him at PRI, and obviously we do similar stuff, and we're both manufacturers, and we're, he makes great products and we make great products, and we're super excited to have him here.
Cool. So Kelli, tell us a little bit more about Aero Race Wheels. When did it start?
What can I say? So we've been manufacturing, actually Aero Race Wheels was established in 1995. We were building wheels prior to that under our parent company, which was an ag wheel business, Armstrong Rim and Wheels.
Oh, cool.
The owner of our company, Skip Miller, who still owns the company to this day, he sold Armstrong Rim and Wheel off to an English company called GKN. When GKN bought the ag business, Armstrong Rim and Wheel, Skip took Aero Race Wheels out on its own. Initially, we were still in offices in GKN, but eventually we built the facility in Esterville with the help of the city of Esterville. And I think they moved into that in 1995. I didn't come around until 2002. But between 1995 and 2002, a couple of the very integral people that really developed Aero Race Wheels was Wayne Redman in sales. He was the one that hired me in 2002. And then also Marv Daly in engineering and manufacturing. They were both very key to the success of Aero Race Wheels. And I hope we're still all doing them very proud. So we have about 15 to 20 employees between part-time and full-timers. We do manufacture 90 to 95% of everything in-house. The only thing that's not done in-house is some of our discs. They are stamped over at Midwest Stamping in Lake Mills, Iowa.
Mm.
So we put out close to 60,000 wheels a year, but we also manufacture all of our raw rims and everything. So piece count is a lot higher than that, but finished goods out the door is about 60,000.
And you have wheels basically in every form of racing.
Yeah, we really do. And getting back out there in front of everybody, I've kind of learned that they don't know that, which is definitely something I've been working on over the last 2 years in the marketing realm of our business, in the search engine optimization and search engine marketing, is making sure that it's out there that we have, a 44 and a 45 series for sport compact wheels that are IMCA legal. We have a lightweight 36 series 13-inch for mod lights, 13 by 7s or 13 by 8s. We have a lightweight beadlock for them as well. That wheel is actually our Legends wheel that we developed for the Legends. We do sticker it for the Legends, and US Legends does sell that wheel, but we also provide it non-stickered for the mod lights out there. But obviously we have our 52 series and the 53 series, which is our IMCA 15 by 8s, non-beadlocks and beadlocks, 50 series 15 by 7s for hobby stocks. Also have the 56 series, which is a lightweight extreme bead that we developed. Actually, Wayne developed a long time ago specifically for the American racer tire. So it's out there for the USMTS and the USRA racers. Something I'm pretty excited about. Hopefully within the next month or so, we can get all the specifics out there. But Eric Daly has developed a new wheel for the UMP market, which is made specifically for the M30 and the N60 tire, that it's lighter weight than our IMCA 19-pound non-beadlock wheel, but it's not our standard safety bead. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road safety bead between our standard and our extreme bead on the 56 series. So more information to follow on that very quickly. So that's exciting.
Cool. And you actually do quite a bit of stuff in NASCAR. And actually, before the whatever gen car we got now, you had a very strong part of that whole market.
Yeah, we did. We did have 100% of the Cup market before they went to the aluminum single lug wheel. Obviously, we don't do aluminum. We're all steel. We still supply wheels to the Xfinity and the Truck Series, and we still move a lot of those wheels out the door every year. So that usually takes up a lot of our time in December and January. So we'd love to be able to work a little bit ahead of schedule on those, but we've been so busy the last 2 years that we just, as soon as the order comes in, we turn them around and get them out the door. So hopefully sooner rather than later, we can do some forecasting on those again.
So not that this needs to be an infomercial, but I'm still curious myself anyway. Tell me why your 8-inch wheel, like what we buy for the IMCA car, why is that better than what's the selling point for that wheel over somebody else's wheel?
So I think the major selling point is the consistency in manufacturing that we have under our roof. Like I said, we have 15 to 20 employees. Most of our employees have been there well over 12 years. They've been doing this for a long, long time. They know what quality control means, and it's from start to finish. The manufacturing processes, we use high-grade steel, and I like to call them self-imposed, very stringent specs. We do not skimp on our steel. We definitely make sure we get exactly what we want in. We won't buy what's the cheapest out there or anything like that. So that's probably one of the most important things for us, is the consistency of it all from start to finish, from raw steel where, we bring it in coils, we roll them, we butt weld them, and then they either go on the rim roller or the spin machine. Couple other things that are important is the fact that we do manufacture our wheels towards the JJ style specs. So we do have a little wider, more pronounced flange, providing probably some better grip for most racing and radial tires. And then you combine that with our knife edge safety bead. I just think we have the best combination of wheel out there that is capable of handling low tire pressures on any racing surface that gets thrown at them.
I actually, and Paul Berger sent me this picture that he found on the internet of this car. And, Chad, how you and I talk about the low air pressure in the schools and how that's a detriment to it's just a no-no. And this car's got to the point where he's in the middle of the corner, and his right front, the wheel, the actual rim itself is almost in the dirt, and the right rear, it's probably a half an inch from being in the dirt. And the tires are all completely rolled underneath there. And it's strictly an air pressure deal, but evidently the wheel must do its job because they're keeping tires on.
Well, hopefully it was an Aero wheel.
I couldn't really tell. It was a silver wheel, so I kind of thought maybe it was, but I had to kind of laugh about that because, of course, it's an excellent picture that we're going to use this weekend in the school, just to show that these aren't drag cars. These tires aren't drag tires. It's just not. They're not designed for that. But at least it's nice to know that the wheel has the grip to keep the tire on the wheel, so that if you do something not so smart like that you don't end up being in a big mess.
Absolutely.
Well, Dustin says, "What's up, guys? I about forgot to tune in." Well, Dustin, I'm glad you tuned in. Les wants to know, he's got a USRA open modified. What has your experience been with the high left side and rear percentage car? Range is 60 to 63%. All right, just a second. When I get too many questions on here, then it moves it down and then my question disappears. Anyway, the high left side weight, 60% to 63% left side and 65 plus. Driver mainly drives off the left rear instead of the right rear. Well, that would be a complete correct statement. A high left side weight car is going to drive off the corner better. You're definitely going to have more traction off the corner. The problem that I have run into with a high left side weight car, the car just struggles with side bite, which, probably putting that much rear percentage in there, maybe they're forcing side bite in the car. I don't think it would be a very balanced race car. I'm not saying it couldn't be fast, but I think it would struggle with side bite. So I'm afraid you might lose what you could gain coming off. What's your opinion, Chad?
I would agree. I think just like you said, the high left side makes the car lazy and doesn't want to transition the weight to the right side of the car as easily. So, not a huge fan of the high left side deal.
I've just, of course, it kind of depends on what tire you're running, but I've just not had good luck with it. I know, and when we talk high left side, like in a modified type car or even in a stock car or whatever, high left side to us is like 56%, 60%. Well, in fact, even a lot of the asphalt rules, at least they used to be, like at Cedar Rapids, they had a 58% left side weight rule because they didn't want you to get too far out, because the problem with a lot of left side is if you lose control, you're gone. I mean, there's nothing saving it. Dustin says, "Who's the lady? Let's hear her go fast secrets." Well, she just told you about the
I just
wheels.
gave them all to you.
She just told you quite a few things about the wheels and what makes the wheels do what they do. You know, there's so many parts to the race car that are so important to making it fast, and people sometimes can tend to forget that, you know. And I've got this little saying that's on my desk right by my computer. It's the little things that make the big things possible. And that's, you know, it's kind of what we preach about in the schools. It's the little things. It's just that little extra care here and there, and it just makes a big difference. Les wants to know, can Kelli explain the difference between a spun wheel versus a stamped wheel?
So I'm not really sure what he means by a stamp wheel. The two processes that we use is spin forming, a spun wheel, and then we also do rolled form, which is probably the oldest rim rolling machine you'll see, and it still works. The difference in the process, there's not a ton of difference other than spin forming is a little bit more precise. We can use a little bit lighter weight material on that. Generally, the majority of our dirt wheels are rolled form, but we're still seeing definitely great run out tolerances, even with the rolled form compared to the spun form. Spin forming is probably just a little bit more precise.
Dustin wants to know, the Aero wheel seals up so good, we actually run them on the right front with 18 pounds of pressure. That would be a good pressure, depending on what car you're talking about. You know, modified, you know, are usually around 16. Stock cars are usually up there around that 18-pound deal, just because of the difference in the weight of the car. And they have a little bit more weight up on the right front because the engine's closer to the right front, so they need a little bit more. And that's the thing. People, it's such a huge misconcept that those, you know, those tires are a DOT tire. And so they're not designed, the tread on them, they're just not designed to run low air pressure, because it actually buckles the tread. And we've got some videos that we use in the school that show that. And so it's low air pressure is not necessarily a faster program. Having more air pressure and having the tire get the full surface is a whole lot better. On a non-beadlock, that's good on a stock car, Dustin says. Well, I appreciate that, Dustin. Kathy says, good seeing all you guys. Well, we appreciate that. Well, it's going to probably be, 6 weeks, and we should be seeing you at the racetrack there. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. In fact, I actually can't wait. I'm ready to go racing. I'm ready to go fishing. I'm ready to do all that stuff that you do when the weather's warmer.
5 and 10 below really makes you anticipate races.
Yeah, you know, the snow is kind of a, you know, and I'm just one of them guys that I just must have been born picky about stuff. And so I always had a guy that would come and snow blow my driveway and did an excellent job. Well, then they quit doing it. So last year I had a guy come in with a plow. Well, he tears up the yard, puts piles of snow all over it. It just looks like heck. So I just decided, heck with it. I'm not that too old. I'm going to buy a snowblower myself, a new snowblower, and I'm just going to do it myself. Well, of course, one of my bad habits is no reason to get a half-ass machine. You need to get the top of the line one, you know. So of course this thing's got way more power than it possibly needs, but it can really blow snow. I mean, that thing can blow snow like you ever see it. Well, after running that last weekend on Saturday blowing snow, I'm kind of thinking, maybe the age thing does have a little bit of an effect on this beast that manhandles me.
Some reason I see a cartoon with you hanging on for dear life or something.
I mean, trust me, I mean, the thing's like, whoa, here we go.
We've actually just got our first substantial snow like a week ago. We were brown ground from before Christmas until like a week ago.
Really?
Yeah, so you guys got quite a bit down there in Central and South Iowa.
This last week, we had 2 different snowstorms, and so, but the ground needs it, and the lakes need the water, so I'm fine with the snow. Kyle, Chad, is your app shareable for a driver and a crew guy to be on the same account or single-use person? I need to get in and check it out.
Yeah, so you can purchase the app, and then your crew guys can all also log in, and then they can enter data and view the data also along with you. And I see the next question is about multiple classes of cars. So in the app right now we have stock car, B mod, modified, and late models. So if you have a modified and a stock car, you can set up both setups inside the app and then have your whole team work on them inside the app. And then it also has tuning for all 4 classes also. And if you just want the tuning side of it, the tuning app, then it has the 4 options to pick that. And we're pretty excited to announce that we got a micro car builder that's going to work on doing the micro side of that for the app. So he's working on the pages for that. So we're excited to add a new class to the app here in the coming months. So.
Okay. Mike says, Chad, on I guess you just kind of answered that.
That's the one I just did.
Yeah, duh. Joe wants to know, hello guys, and thanks. My question is, what angle should I static angle of the left rear control arm for a stock car? As much as the legal limit will let you. They kind of they have a height rule or a length rule on the trailing arm off the rear end. I don't know whether they measure it at the bottom of the rear end or center of the rear end. I know there's a rule there because people were getting that down so low that they were actually getting it in the dirt. An average, the ones that we've seen that are legal, if you're in the bottom hole on that left rear trailing arm, there's about 20 to 22 degrees. And then in dynamic, that's going to give you probably you're right around 40 degrees or so. So that works out pretty well. You know, before they put before they put the ride height rules in, you know, you can kind of raise your rear ride heights up and gain more angle that way. And I think that was fairly effective. Anytime you can put drive angle in a trailing arm, you're going to put drive to that tire. I mean, it's just, but I'd run as much as I could on that left rear. I mean, those cars, they're working good. They're going fast. We don't run a lot of angle in the right rear. That's actually relatively flat. I like to run a little bit, at least a couple, 3 degrees of angle, but it's pretty flat. Travis, what is a good starting point for air pressures on an IMCA stock car? What I have seen and what I've kind of liked is right sides, 18 pounds if the racetrack's pretty heavy. That seems to be pretty good. Left rear needs to be probably in that 12, 14 pound range. Same with the left front, needs to probably be in that 12, 14 pound range with those type of tires. Because like I said, they're a DOT tire, they're not designed to run low air pressure. When you run low air pressure, the side or the actual surface of the tire will buckle, and that's where you see those, like that second rail in wears out or gets hot or breaks up. That's low air pressure. That's a low air pressure issue. Robert wants to know, what is your opinion on wheel offsets? Example, if I put a 1-inch wheel spacer on a 3-inch wheel, would it react the same as a 2-inch wheel? Would it act the same as a 2-inch wheel offset, or is there a little difference? I'm just trying to simplify all my wheels. Thanks for all your advice that you guys give. Well, Robert, you're thinking just exactly like I think, because, of course, when you can get that wheel, like on an 8-inch wheel, the ideal wheel would be a 4-inch wheel as far as how the load goes into the tire. Now, I'm not a fan of the 4-inch wheel because they put that on the right rear. It gets too close to the center of gravity in the rear, and it loads the right rear too hard. But that's what we do, like on our modifieds, because I'm not a big believer in having tons of wheels, just because it always gets confusing. And when you want to grab a tire, it's always the last minute. So by having like all 3-inch wheels and running different wheel spacers, I think that's a great combination. Plus, then you can adjust your car quite a bit because, say, for example, you run a 3-inch wheel with a 1-inch spacer, you can change the car immensely by putting a 1/2-inch wheel spacer in there and moving that wheel a 1/2 inch in. It does a tremendous, there's just tremendous tuning advantages to wheel spacers. And man, I just, not trying to not say you shouldn't buy wheels, but wheel spacers take up a whole lot less space in your trailer, and they're not super duper expensive. What's wheel spacers cost now, Chad?
They're like 25 to $50 depending on how thick they are, I think.
Sure. So that's kind of my opinion. I like wheel spacers. I mean, when we sell a car, we sell it with 3-inch wheels, and we put 1-inch wheel spacers on both fronts and the left rear, and then we actually put a 1/2-inch wheel spacer on the right rear, and then when the racetrack gets slick, you take that 1/2-inch wheel spacer off.
That's one of them deals where I think the wheel industry, you can touch on this a little bit, Kelly, but only 1-inch increments. Like, you've made a wheel spacer market out there, but like you look at upper control arms and somebody will call and be like, well, I need a 9 1/8, and you have 9s and 8 1/2s. And, do people call you all the time and be like, can you make me an 8 or a 3 1/4 offset or, incremental?
Yeah, so here's the deal. We absolutely can. One of the biggest hiccups when it comes to that is obviously it's hard to stock wheels. We don't sell direct, so we rely on our amazing distributors, and for them to, number one, have the space to offer all of our series, our diameters, our widths, our bolt patterns with everything, every single back spacing, it would just be logistically impossible. They're carrying the 1-inch, the 2-inch, the 3, and the 4-inch, but absolutely we can do 2.5, we can do 3.5, we can do 4.5. And all it is a quick call up to Aero Race Wheels. You can ask for Kelly. I can get you a part number set up and get you set up with a distributor that can drop ship them right to your door.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Another thing, you guys would do that.
Yeah, another thing I learned tonight. So what's your opinion on the wheel spacers? Am I talking the same thing, like with a 4-inch wheel, how it loads the tire?
I think I agree with you, and I would say that you probably have just as many wheels in your day, had just as many wheels in your race trailer as everybody else. I mean, they're just wanting, a crew guy not to grab a 2-inch when they could easily go up there and grab a 3-inch and use a spacer. So I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying. Obviously, we want to sell as many wheels as we can, but I think the majority of the races are out there heading to the racetracks every year with a full trailer of wheels and tires, especially with tires, how it is now. They absolutely just have to have them. Nobody wants to mount and dismount anything. So the simplicity of keeping your back spacing the same and using wheel spacers doesn't necessarily mean less wheels. It just makes it easier when it comes to race time.
Very good point, because you're right. I mean, you're not going to have less wheels. You're just going to make your job easier, because that way you grab the right tire and do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And Chad, of course, is making one of these nice machines that can prove that factor of how different wheel offsets load the tires and stuff. So how are we coming on that machine, Chad?
We're still in the design phases. It's a little difficult to make new products in build season, but
I bet.
but we are working on it. So hopefully this, I would say early summer, we'll have that baby ready to go.
Yeah, well, Bob's on the first one on the list. So just
you can have the first one.
Okay, just letting you know. Because I just truly believe that there's a lot of tuning there and a lot of stuff that we don't understand yet, that we've all had theories about. And I like theories, but I really like proof.
Data.
Yeah, data that says this is what actually is happening. Dustin says he got the app yesterday and started playing with it. It's very user friendly. Awesome. I don't know if I know how to pronounce that name, Danye, or anyway. When did IMCA white wheels come into play?
Well, we've had white as a finish for probably 6 years, 5, 6 years. I think that's what he's speaking of, unless he's talking about old funny cars that had the stock white wheels. And actually, that was the premise of us bringing white back, was to kind of have an old school feel to it. So it might have even been longer than that, because I'm pretty sure that Eric Daly had white wheels on his modified, and he's been retired for a few years now. So
yeah, I think I remember Eric having white wheels on one of those cars.
Yep, he sure did.
Frank, there's already out there. Have to call an Aero dealer to get you hooked up.
I think he's talking about the white wheels.
Yes. Jesse, good evening. Any insight on the new open motor deal for IMCA Sport Mods? LE, the spoiler change. Jesse, all I can do for you is give you my opinion. I myself, we saw a little bit of difference down in Arizona, but it didn't seem to slow the open car down. Maybe they didn't have quite the load in the center of the corner that they normally would. I mean, but you still get the 8-inch or the 5-inch type sides, so your side force is still the same. It's just the down force that's different. And I know if we were racing half-mile racetracks, that probably would have an impact. The 5-inch spoiler is going to make the car tighter at corner entry. 3-inch spoiler is going to make it a little bit loose, because air is air. But I was surprised. I thought there would be a little bit more difference but I didn't actually see it. And like I said, when you're running, 3/8 or less racetracks, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna. I mean, it's just like everything else. One advantage is you all have to have it. So I mean, it's I don't see it being a big disadvantage. For the USRA stock car, is there any advantage to running round tube rear trailing arms instead of the stock style? The round tube ones are the same length and weight as the stock ones. And this will be, once again, this will be my opinion, but when you could run something that's a complete round tube, I think it's going to be stiffer. I don't think you're going to have the twist effect. The downside to a stock trailing arm is over the course of time, they'll actually twist because, of course, they're not a square tubing. They're basically a piece of U channel, and we've seen quite a few of them. And it kind of depends on the brand of trailing arm that you buy. I mean, some of the real pure stock ones or some of the real aftermarket ones are a little thinner material, and they definitely tend to flex and twist, where I don't think you'd have that with that round tube one. Cliff, wish more dealers had Wissota stamped white wheels.
I will make some calls tomorrow and see what I can figure out. Cliff and Jack, if you need part numbers built, you can give me a call. I'll get you set up with somebody. They can sure drop ship them straight to your door as well. So easy fix.
Awesome.
Did you miss? I think you missed a couple.
Yeah, I think you do.
Clinton and Don, I think.
Clinton and Don. By golly, I did. How much caster and camber do you recommend on the right front of a stock car? Well, some of that is limited by the way the rule structure is and where you can mount that upper A-frame. However, what we actually have done on our right front is we've actually changed how, instead of mounting to the outside of the bracket, we've changed to mounting to the inside of the bracket. And we're actually currently running about 7 to 7.5 degrees of negative camber on the right front. The left front really needs to be about 4. Some cars can only get about 2, but ideally, with that suspension and the amount of dynamic hike that we get in the left rear, the car would be the best if you could run in that neighborhood of 4 on the left. And I've got some customers that even like to try to run 8 degrees. I know one of the gentlemen that worked for me, that's what he ran down in Arizona. And of course, Braden won 2 races down there, so it evidently must have worked. So, because you have to also, we're limited in what we can do with that right front A-frame. So our camber gain, it's not necessarily where you start with the wheel as much as where the wheel goes. And that's kind of like I tell everybody that you need to take the right front spring out of your car and jack it up underneath the seat and jack it, kind of get it some sort of in a pretend dynamic mode, because you'll find that you might have to have a fair amount of dynamic or a static caster so that you don't lose caster, through its motion. So that's something everybody needs to take the time and check out. Check out what your car does in dynamic. Don, the problem is that sport mods can't use wheel spacers. Yeah, Don, I agree. And I really have a strong opinion about that. But I've learned on certain situations, you pick and choose your battles, and it's best sometimes you just keep your mouth shut. One of the advantages of being an old guy, because I didn't always used to keep my mouth shut, and it didn't take me too long to realize, yeah, not the end result's not worth what you got going on here. Let's see, Jeff. Which one?
Les should be next, I think.
Les, yes. Does Aero Wheels manufacture an extreme bead for the left rear? Extreme bead on the inside versus the outside of the wheel.
So extreme bead, we do offer an extreme bead in the 56 series. It is designed specifically for the American racer. If you're running Hoosiers, the IMCA Hoosier and that sort of thing, the 52 series with the standard safety bead is going to be your best option. That Hoosier isn't even going to mount over an extreme bead. It's almost virtually impossible with the sidewall of a Hoosier and the hardness of a Hoosier. We do offer on 2-inch only what we call our left side wheel, which is basically the disc is welded in opposite. So the big bell is on the outside. And that's if you do break that bead seat with the tire, you got more space for that tire to stay and hold air. So depending on what tire you run, we do have some options on the left side that I could certainly help you out with if you gave me a call, getting some part numbers. There's distributors out there stocking the left side wheel, but it does only come in a 2-inch back spacing.
Yeah, that wheel works actually quite well, actually.
Kelli Shryock swears by it.
Yes.
Yep.
That's kind of what we don't, with the modified, like I said, we're using that 3-inch wheel, but the stock car stuff, that's actually, we've sold some of them. Let's see. Marshall. Well, hi, Marshall. How's things going? Marshall, what is suggested lug nut torque on a steel wheel lug nut with a 5/8 stud?
I'm probably going to let you answer that, Bob, because I can't really.
I'd say best bet you'd want to be tight.
Yeah.
I don't actually know, Marshall. I don't know what the actual, that's a great question. I will have to investigate that.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I had my race team that I don't remember what we had the torque wrench set to. But Marshall's actually bringing Gorsuch to the show in March in Rochester, so we're excited to have Gorsuch Performance Solutions there. So we're excited to have them on board too. Another new vendor for this year. So once again, a lot of great manufacturers going to be there.
Yeah, we actually we sell quite a bit of their product. Their product is very good. Dave says 80 to 85. Well, thanks, Dave.
I was going to say higher than that. I was going to say closer to the 130 and then obviously hand tightening them, but looks like Dave said 140 as well.
So. We got another Dave that says 140. And then Robert says 3 Ugga Duggas is perfect for torque specs. LOL.
That works too.
Marshall says, sorry, not trying to trick or anything. I know on an aluminum wheel, they suggest 130 to 140 pounds. Was just curious on the steel wheel, but that's all good. Max says we torque ours to 100 pounds and have never had an issue. And actually that was kind of the number that I was sort of sticking in the back of my mind that I had heard was 100 pounds. That makes sense, but we torque all ours to 100 foot-pounds is what Mason said. Well, appreciate you guys kind of coming in and asking that because, like I said, that was something that I know McBurney torques his wheels all the time, but I guess I've never paid any attention to what he actually uses for poundage. And that's one of those deals that I used to know, but since I don't torque them anymore, um, it's not something I use. Is there anything new and exciting coming out there, Chad? Well, you just actually had a new product.
Yeah, we released the Zach Vanderbeek underneath brake floater. So that's the left rear brake floater where you run the bar underneath up to the chassis instead of the normal way would be on the top like that, and then the rod would go up to the chassis, and the new way is underneath and then to the chassis that way. So we had to change the plates and change the counter bores on the plates so that the clamp ring misses, but same components just configured a little bit differently. So that is now available and on the website.
So since you brought that up, what is the reason to go underneath instead of over top?
So when it's on the bottom side, it's actually pulling the axle underneath the seat, basically, which is a little more effective. So if you think of the force in the arm, it only has to pull the rear end forward instead of picking the whole car up. So when it pulls the rear end forward, that's when the 4-link rods make the motion to pick the car up. So it's a little bit more, I would say, a little more aggressive. We had to change the way we build our limit chain stuff a little bit because it was so aggressive. Compared to running the brake floater rod on the top side of the axle or clamped to the suspension cage. So just a different preference, different feel. You know, some guys put it on and they can't figure out how to drive it. Some guys love it. It's one of them driver preference deals, I feel.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, the brake floater itself is kind of a driver preference deal. Joe, the left rear wheel, when a car gets spun to the right, the left rear wheel hooks the racetrack and barrel rolls the car. Build a left rear wheel without the sharp flange that's that easily digs into the racetrack. Did you understand all that? Because I'm not sure I did.
I'm thinking maybe he's talking about the outer lip, not the flange. Our flange ourselves isn't extremely sharp. It's more of a wider flange. But he might be talking about the lip of the wheel.
I would
Lip, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough deal when you get into them situations where, I mean, look at what happened yesterday in the Daytona 500. That car went flying through the air. I mean, when cars spin and they go through different scenarios, you try and figure out how to make them, crash better, I guess you could say. So that's an interesting concept that Joe brought up there.
Yeah, very interesting, because one thing about it, I've been watching this sport for a few years, and I can't say that there isn't something new I see every year that I would have never seen before, and it's like, wow.
Chad's the professional at everything new. I love that. Nope,
Yeah.
I definitely screenshotted Joe's comment, so we'll bring that to engineering.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Chad must not sleep all that much because he's always working on all these new products. If I was thinking as much as I think about stuff, I don't sleep real good, so I can't imagine how Chad does.
He's one of my favorite people to be around. He always has a great idea.
Oh yeah.
Him and his squirrels in his head.
I sleep well now. I got a lot of great people. I mean, race car drivers and crew chiefs and car builders and Bob Harris and all kinds of people that have crazy ideas. I'm just the goofball that's like, hey, let's make a part number.
You're the facilitator.
You have 1,700 part numbers. Why not make another one? And we bang our heads against the wall every day about these part numbers. And I wish I could start over and do it differently, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I get caught up in some of the dumbest stuff. We had a situation where we made a payment to our Capital One credit card. And 2 seconds later, they took the same amount of the payment out again. So they doubled the payment, only credited us for one. And you want to talk about how to try to get along with some difficult freaking people and how to make something happen in a quick hurry. Oh my God. I have to really remember when I'm on the phone that this is just a poor person doing a job. They really don't have any control over nothing. So there's no reason to rip them up. But like I told the guy today on the phone, I said, the amount of money small businesses can't necessarily operate with situations like that. And waiting for you guys 60 days to make a decision, that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helped or not, but whatever, doesn't matter. Jeffrey has a tire pressure question.
I think he might be saying if you have more air pressure in the left rear when you spin, the wheel won't dig in.
Yeah, I think he was commenting on Joe's.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And a lot of these left rears are really way too low. So, yep, I completely agree with that. No doubt about that. So it's exciting you got Randy LaJoy coming to the seminar or the show.
Yep. Yeah. I was in Springfield and he was at the Springfield show and he said, if you haul my seat rig, I'll come. So I threw the seat rig in the cube van and I took it to Oklahoma first before I brought it home. But so I dragged that with me to the Chili Bowl too. So no, we're pumped, man. I'm super excited to try and get these regional shows going, like I said. And I think it's huge for our sport. I mean, it's so expensive, like you said, for these local race teams. They're not going to spend the money to go to PRI. A hotel room downtown is, well, I haven't been there now in how many years, but the last time I went, they were like $200 a night. Well,
oh yeah.
I mean, it's really not worth it, right? Let's go to small regional areas and boost these shows up and make the small shows an awesome event for the racers.
Well, and then anytime there's a 2-day event, the cost of the first evening is very expensive also.
Steaks.
Yeah. and liquid to wash down the steaks.
Steaks and liquids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marshall says it could be argued that a beadlock left rear could be a safety benefit. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, anything back there to help keep that tire on would be a good safety. Good, very good point, Marshall. I agree with that. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So you've got state wrestling this weekend?
State wrestling this weekend. Yep.
And then you spent all fall at a football game. And then
my son says he's going golfing, but I don't think that's a huge spectator sport. So I should be good for the spring. I'm going to do some racing here and there. So,
well, and I always told my kids, I'll support most sports, but if you're going to run track, I am not going to sit through a raining track meet where you freeze your butt off to watch you run a minimum of a minute.
Yeah. Kinnick threw shot put and discus last year in track. And so we would go and watch him. And occasionally he would be involved in what they call the big man race, the throwers race. So we'd have to wait until the very end of the track meet to watch the throwers race. So I was kind of glad he said he didn't want to do track this year. I would be okay with golf. Yeah,
I can appreciate that too.
I think he'd like to go racing too. So
there you go. Yeah, Bobby did the football thing. So, every Friday night we'd be at a football game. And then the wrestling deal. And of course, that deal, fortunately, he was relatively good at wrestling. But this waiting 5 hours to see 35 seconds is kind of like, what the hell?
You wanted him to go 3 periods, huh? Instead of
he said, now why would I do that?
Exactly.
What would be the real reason? You want to go out there and wrestle for 6 minutes? Yeah, good point. But I mean, getting to watch and then bleachers they just don't get softer.
No, they don't. They make really good bleacher seats now. Bleacher pads. I've
Yeah,
even got Chad lasering bleacher pads for me. So
awesome. Yeah, they definitely need that for sure. No doubt about that. Jamie, Chad, are you saying there could be more Midwest shows, Mid-East shows coming?
Well, I mean, like I said, there's the show that we're doing in Rochester in the first part of January in Springfield, Illinois, with the UMP banquet is the Midwest Speed Expo, which is kind of gone downhill lately. But I'm trying to get some manufacturing friends of mine to come back, and I think the shows are based on the manufacturers that are there, right? I mean, the people aren't going to come if there's not companies there. So if all of us manufacturers can align and say, okay, let's spend our resources, like me, I said, piss on PRI, and I've been focusing more on going to the racetrack and going to these regional shows. And I think there's more value. Not saying the PRI wasn't instrumental in building this company, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, it's gotten to the point where I think I would rather go to a regional show and see the Saturday night guys, and I think we can build some shows up around the country and make them great. I think, and we had 900 people in Rochester last year. We got companies coming from North Carolina and Washington. I think if you draw a 5-hour, 6-hour circle around Rochester, I think it's worth the trip there now. There's 58 manufacturers going to be there, and it's all racing except we let the Harley dealer come in from Rochester, which, Ruby and I Josh Ruby from Kevco, we agreed we want racing, but racers drive Harleys, and
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think that was a good choice.
we figured it kind of went hand in hand. So otherwise, everything there is racing related. So we're excited. So I'm going to try and work with Hoosier Tire Midwest and All Geyer Performance and all of my manufacturing friends like Kelli, and try to convince her to come to Springfield. And I think, Joe and I have had brief conversations about the West Coast. So we're looking at these different markets, and I think there's value. And, like I said, not to rip on PRI, but the last year I went there, I spent $55,000 to go there. And that's just absurd. I mean, I'd rather spend it doing regional stuff and going to the racetrack and seeing the racers.
Well, and the racers appreciate that a lot more. Number one, if they went to PRI to talk to you, what's the chances of getting to talk to you?
Well, that's part of it, is that the attendance there got out of hand. So when you bring, I think the last year we were there was probably the record, right? It was 45,000 people there, I think. And your chances of talking to me or Kelli were slim because the booths were always packed. So the regional shows, when you bring 1,000 or 2,000 people in, you have a way better chance, and it's way laid back, and you can talk to us, and it's, it's just more, face to face and more interactive than the big massive show. And you're talking blowing diesels to somebody that's never going to spend any money at Where's Machine, but you're talking about cool stuff and it doesn't relate. So I'm not into it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jeffrey says deadlock makes tires.
Beadlock.
Beadlock. Beadlock makes tires so much easier to mount, is what I'm assuming here. Changing tires. Yeah, no doubt.
yeah.
Jamie says, I appreciate your efforts to put these grassroots race shows together. I mean, I used to love them. I mean, when they used to have that auction in Des Moines all the time, man, that was a great time. You got to see a lot of people. It was just fun. Of course, I really tend to like stuff that's only 45 minutes from my house. That's really cool. So, that always worked good.
Well, that Heartland show was good too.
Yes, it was. Very good. All right, everybody. We will see all you people that have tuned in. Our next show will be March 3rd. That will be Steve Arpin from Longhorn Channel. Longhorn Channels. I get those guys all. I got one customer that's Longnecker, and then I got Longacre, and hell.
Horns, acres, and neckers.
It's kind of like Chad Wehrs and Where's Machine or Where's Manufacturing. I mean, I just struggle with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a whole lot, Kelli, for coming on. I sure appreciate it. You definitely gave us a whole lot different perspective on something that, like I said, I like stuff like that because I like to know what my products are and what they do and how they're made and all that good stuff. I think that's a great deal. But anyway, we'll get Gary's one more question. What's your thoughts on a short BS long pull bar on a B mod?
I think it's supposed to be
Well,
short versus long.
yeah, I mean, I still like that 28 to 38 or 28 to 30 inches. I think that's a very neutral setting. It's not too long, it's not too short. It just makes the car react. It doesn't react so quick, but it makes it react longer, and I think that's a good deal. The other thing we've got coming up, of course, we've got our Race Tech Info School that we will be going to out in Pennsylvania, March 14th and 15th. We're gonna actually give you guys an extra show, so we're gonna actually do like 3 shows in a row there in March, because of course Chad doesn't have anything going on in March, so I thought it'd be a good idea to add a couple more things to his schedule. So we will also have a show on the 10th, and my good buddy Joel from Close Racing Supply, Joel Smith, our Close Racing Supply, will definitely be our guest speaker there and talking about his open house. And so we're excited about that. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Kelli. Thanks, Chad. It's been a great show. I sure appreciate it. And we'll see. Well, I'll see you, Chad, in a couple of weeks. Well, I'll see you probably in 3 weeks, Kelli.
Yep.
So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
you.